Hey guys, welcome back. Unpopular opinions in Pokemon number 14. It's been a little while since we've done one of these. I think a week or two has gone by. But we're back into it. Thanks to Sakari for making this thread on efour for us to keep enjoying. It's very fun to look back through it. I'll give you guys my opinion. Let me know in the comments if you get triggered by any of this stuff. If you have your own unpopular opinions. By all means, they are opinions, so don't kill each other down there. Keep it civil. Alright, starting off, we have Amrat, who says, Ball Guy creeps me out. I have the Japanese full art from Shiny Star V, and I can't look at the card without getting chills. I can kind of see that. I guess it's probably similar to that, like, phobia of clowns. Maybe phobia of Eater 26s. So I guess ball guy mascots. I'm sure there's some sort of mascot phobia that exists. Not gonna look up the name for it, but just know that there probably is a name for it. Shiny Cards says instead of value charges for nice cards, PSA should have a low value trash charge where people have to pay an extra fee for each of the 1,500 commons they send in. So I'm not sure if this was in around the time that a price increase was occurring, but it seems to be the theme of these comments or unpopular opinions that I pulled. So I guess that's right on point with the video earlier in the week discussing grading companies and how you probably want to wait until things cool off before submitting things. If you're going to go with the more reputable companies, and I don't know, in my opinion, still not worth the risk to go with an unproven company. There's so damn many of them that I can't even name them all. Half of them I don't even know what the letters stand for. The three letters that they like to use. Those three fun letters on the back of your parents' credit card. Or numbers, I guess they would be. But yeah, the alphabet of grading. Just wait. It's gonna be all right. Your cards will not be damaged. I've had so many people freaking out, saying that it protects the cards. It does not protect the cards. They're still very susceptible to water, moisture, and UV damage. It doesn't make them easier to store. They take up more space. There's cards that have been stored in binders and or in card savers or top loaders for years, and as long as they're in a climate controlled area, there won't be any issues. So I mean, if you're gonna have them laying across your bed or the floor and you got dogs jumping on them and kids spilling drinks on them and stuff like that, I guess maybe there's a case for it. No pun intended. But yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. If somebody wants to send in 1,500, commons, by all means, that's on them if they want to pay the grading fee. It's probably not a good idea in general, even when it's inexpensive, because if those aren't coming back tens, people don't want them for a set. So I don't know. To each their own. So can't really complain if you're trying to send stuff in now when everything's busy. Everyone needs to be patient, whether you're sending in inexpensive cards just because you like the card and you want it graded, or you're sending in expensive stuff and you have to wait because somebody else is sending in too many cards. That's the market at the moment. That's what you kind of have to deal with. It's the same with buying new product when it comes out on release. Everyone's fighting for the same stuff. If there's not enough supply to meet the demand, just got to be patient or focus your attention elsewhere. In other areas of the hobby, there's lots of things that you can be doing other than grading currently or opening the new product on release day, at least to like a reasonable extent. Effexport says, I hope Pokemon starts printing so much product that all these investors go out of business. So I don't know. I'm assuming that he is mostly talking about all the people that are buying pallets on release day and putting them in a storage unit, stuff like that, and or everyone that's buying modern, flipping it at increased prices. Again, temporary issue. Eventually, I'm sure the Pokemon company will catch up. in terms of printing enough to meet the demand, and also the market will cool off. There is no way that this interest in Pokemon is going to sustain itself. It was crazy in 1999, and we all saw what happened with that. Early 2000s, you can go around buying everything dirt cheap that would be expensive in today's market, or even 2019 before all the recent craziness. All right, Lisa Nuggy says, we all pretty much agree that Champion's Path isn't very good unless you like Charizard. What about the sealed products though? While they don't have statues, figures, keychains, other stuff people look for, I think the pin collections featuring gym badges and the Marnie box are some of the best, most unique sealed products released in English over the last few years. In an era where everyone is collecting sealed to display on a shelf, I think these stand out from the throwaway jumbo card collection boxes featuring a Pokemon most people don't identify with. I think it also has one of the best looking ETBs. Note, I still think the double and Hatterene boxes and booster packs are boring. So, I don't know. My take on Champion's Path will forever be, why didn't we get the tag team gold cards that just came out recently in promo form? I guess that's the answer to that question. There was a bunch of stuff that we were missing. And we got the shiny Charizard V early when it should have been reserved for the shiny set. Shiny Fates. So, I don't know. They kind of like burned a future card that would have been nice in that set instead. Without getting into the fact that there were way too many baby shinies in that set. I've still got to get back to hunting those down in single form. But there's a ton of alternate art, full art trainers that we didn't get, we haven't seen yet. Maybe those will pop up. And I think there's still one or two of the tag team gold cards that we didn't get. So Champion's Path in general was not really a playable set. So I don't know why they didn't just go full out with all the cards that we were missing in English. It would have been crazy, crazy set. You still would have had your Charizard in there in the form of Reshiram and Charizard Secret Rare. So that Charizard chase is still there. And then also all those other full art trainers would have been super cool to see. Again, man, the smaller specialty sets, I really don't like the fact that there aren't enough cards in the common, uncommon, rare. I guess there's no rares, they're all holos in most of those sets. But there just isn't enough variety. So when the set is entirely chase and you're just tossing those first cards aside because you've seen them 100 times, I don't think that's a good thing. It's not enjoyable, at least in my eyes. McMimi says, sets have too many cards. I guess leading into this one. Packs should go back to the e-reader pulls where there's a reverse holo plus rare in every pack plus an additional holo or better. And up the pull rates 1/2 for a holo or better. So I think we're getting into a weird spot where some of the holos are even pretty hard to get just because there's only so many per booster box. When you have 1 in 3 holo or better, but then like 1 in 6 is a V or better, you're kind of getting into territory if you have a ton of holos, like we've seen with Marnie and stuff like that, that's important for play. Later on, they printed a bunch of them, but when Sword and Shield Base first came out, it was very hard to get your hands on a Marnie, just for that reason, because it was the only one in existence. So I would agree, sets have too many cards. Fusion Strike that's coming up, it won't even fit in a 12-slot binder, which is absolutely insane. I think it's a little over 500 cards, if I'm not mistaken. 480 fit in the 12-slot binders. So it was painful enough to have to move from the 360 card standard binder up to a 480, and now it's gonna have to be like 2 360s, I guess. And then I don't know at what point are we gonna need 2 of the 12-slot binders. Too many cards. Dial it back. I don't know what they need to do. I guess it's just the Japanese sets are getting bigger, so then our sets get bigger, and when they're combining multiple sets or there's a big set, we get absolutely slammed. Pretty difficult to complete for even someone like myself who is trying very hard to complete that stuff. Not necessarily in the form of buying the singles right away while they're the new hot thing, but in general, just actively collecting the sets. It's daunting. It is. All right. British Badoof Corporation says, takes sharp intake of breath. I'm about 15 years too late on this one, But TPC really dropped the ball with the designs for Delta Species EXs. Regular Delta Species hollows were straight fire, and the regular original EXs beforehand and after looked downright godly. So what went wrong? We went from swirls and cosmos everywhere to this boring reflective nonsense that's even too dull for regular GX and V cards now. Deltas deserve better. I don't know. I'm not really a swirl master by any means. So I don't know. I think some of the most importantly out of anything is the amount of area and how the card is designed and what parts are hollow and not hollow. Certain ones show hollow really well. Certain art works really well with it. Certain art does not. But I don't think the foil pattern itself really is a deal breaker for me. Cosmos is Cosmos, but I feel like it's okay to have things other than Cosmos, whether it's vertical lines, horizontal lines, Pokeballs, energy symbols, whatever they want to do. I like when they switch it up, make things different, make them stand out from other eras. I think that's usually a good thing. It's a good, fresh way to enjoy Hollow. Change it up. Just Matt says, Rainbow Rares do not look like Pokemon cards at all. I would kind of have to agree. Other than the fact that there's a giant Pokemon on them or Pokemon trainer. I think they're played out. I say this every time, but I think they're played out, and they should have retired the Rainbow Rares with the end of Sun and Moon. Especially now with the alternate arts. The sets are big, and the amount of secrets and such that you have to pull, hyper secrets, alternate arts, all that stuff. Too much. Kingboo64 says most Kamiya art is not good, and you can imagine this got some people worked up. I love Kamiya arts, and I love seeing what the next Kamiya art is going to be. I love the fact that you can recognize it right away. Some of it better than others, yes, for sure, but I wouldn't say that any of it is not good. I think anything different and artist specific, especially something that you can pick out from across a room, is a good thing. So I guess he changed his mind when he said, I just realized one of my favorite cards in my EX reverses is a Kamiya. I take that back. Take back my statement. Manny Not Found says, putting a card in a CGC case decreases its value. That's a little bit of a strong statement. I mean, if you took it out of a PSA case or a BGS case and put it in a CGC case, I would have to agree. But putting anything in any case, unless they manage to damage it, is not going to decrease the value. It might not add any value, as we've seen with a lot of these new grading companies. The majority of them, I shouldn't say there isn't anyone at this point in time or someone that you can convince to pay more for it, but the educated long-term collector who has seen what the market is like is not going to pay a premium on anything that isn't, say, a PSA, BGS. I would disagree. I think CGC does add a little bit of value, depending on the card, obviously. But yeah, if someone's intention is not to keep it in that case, then no, it doesn't really add any value. Mr. Parker. Unlimited base set energies will be worth $50 each, near mint, PSA 7 in 25 years. At this rate of inflation, that might be sooner than 25 years. Gaypod says, grading is no longer fun. More stress than joy these days. Take a break. There's lots of areas in the hobby. It's the same thing I tell people that are looking for the newest set and can't find it. There are a ton of older cards. If you're not searching for the new hot thing that everyone's searching for, you're going to get much better deals, and you're going to have a lot more fun. So collect for yourself. Collect what you enjoy. Get into something that's different, whether it's a different set or, in this case, not looking to grade, looking for other stuff. And later on, when the opportunity is a little bit better and less stressful or takes less time or less money, you can get back into it then. It's not going anywhere, and you have time. Shadowless says PSA should up their bulk prices and faster ones accordingly to $50 minimum. Either a card is worth to be graded or it is not. So a lot of people have this stance. PSA seems to have this stance because I think they were taking the express orders only. I don't know what dollar value that was, but it was sort of the same thing. So I guess the reasoning is that they're going to catch up that way, or help catch up. But then at the same time, it's going to push a lot of the budget collectors into the other random no-name graders. So double-edged sword. Seafoam Articuno says, unpopular opinion, just like Game Freak, Nintendo, TPC have remade the first 3 generations of GB, GBA main series Pokemon games. TPC should reprint all of the original TCG sets, at least the WotC sets, and maybe even more. 2 reprinted sets released per year, same exact card printing as the originals, except with a way to denote that the card is from the reprinted set and not the original, something like numbering all the cards are 1 out of 102 instead of 1 out of 102. So I disagree, mostly because of the fact that I hate reprint sets. I think I want to see new artwork, I want to see new mechanics, I want to see new Pokemon, and a lot of this stuff, I guess you can't easily financially justify opening a lot of this older stuff, but at the same time, it's just like, can we get into some newer stuff? There's unlimited versions of all this WotC stuff that is still very affordable, and I'm sure it's dropped quite a bit in price already. If not, then it will probably continue to do so. So if you're really dying to have those WotC cards, you don't need one with an R on it. Even Celebrations, the reprinted part of it, I don't find nearly as enjoyable as the cool, quirky stuff they did with the old mechanics, like the Delta species and Prime and stuff like that. With new Pokemon, new cards that haven't been released. Reprints are boring. No. Alright, Less Than Bread. I have no idea if this opinion is unpopular, but I do not like base set 2 at all. I know they are real, but they just give me a fake or copied feeling since they are a reprint of base set. So this seems like the complete opposite of what the previous person was saying. I look at base set 2 card and think, and the only thing that comes to mind is that I wish it was base set, almost like when you see those proxy cards or custom replica cards. So I wouldn't go that far, but it is boring. Reprints are boring, and lesser versions of things that already existed. They were already pretty affordable. The existence of base set 2 and Legendary Collection is primarily for the players back when the cards came out, to make sure that they were accessible. Even though so much base set was printed, they had more in the form of base set 2 and then Legendary Collection. So they haven't done a whole lot like that recently. They'll just reprint the same set because I guess they don't have first editions either. So I guess the company has evolved, and so now if it's in standard format and players need it, they'll probably just come out with more, or worst case, there'll be promo versions of the cards that are really expensive and playable. Dragon Warrior says, I will probably get bashed for this, but here we go. People who consistently complain about the fees involved with buying based on where they live need to either suck it up at this point or just move to somewhere where the fee structure is better. I completely understand the complaints when something is first put into place. I was not happy when eBay started charging my state sales tax on every order, but I realized that I would rather pay the sales tax and live in the state that I do rather than move somewhere where there's no sales tax. So this is difficult, and there's a conversation that happened after this. Basically, if you live somewhere in a country in Europe or in Canada, import fees are brutal. So the U.S. is lucky in that regard that they don't get absolutely botched for purchases. Even small purchases you can end up with a big bill when they arrive, and they'll be like, hey, pay these fees or you're not getting your stuff. And sometimes it's a surprise. Sometimes it's more than usual. It depends how it comes in, what broker does it, and everything else. So it's hard to tell someone to move to another country. Within the U.S., I kind of get that if you want to live in a state that doesn't have sales tax or has less sales tax, that kind of makes sense. But especially in Europe, you can't really just move to another country in Europe because a lot of them have the same import fees and structure. So, yeah, you got to deal with it. People are going to complain because it sucks. It sucks for me. It sucks for them. Consider yourself lucky if you're in the US, if you're buying from out of country, because you have it very good. Cut at Point says, Secret Wonders is one of the best sets. I used to think the artwork was bad, but if you think it as being an homage to Pokemon Stadium, it's a lot better. This is not just Sinnoh goggles. Yeah, I don't know. I never really hated on Secret Wonders. That whole era, I was a little bit... the hobby was pretty dead, as far as I know. And it doesn't seem like there's very much of that stuff printed. Also not really a fan favorite. They weren't doing anything really wild at that point in time, so maybe that also played a role in it. Definitely not people's favorite, but again, where that's kind of getting up into the more recent years, I think with time, maybe it'll age a little bit better. Once that base that grew up with it grows up and gets back into collecting. All right, Volt here says, shifting the description of PSA grades upwards by 1 provides a constellation where the word more accurately describes the actual condition of the card. PSA 10 mint, PSA 9 near mint to mint, PSA 8 near mint. I would kind of agree. I think these would kind of more accurately describe it, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter. Most people don't even designate by the mint, near mint nomenclature. They'll usually just refer to the number, which gives you a pretty good idea. The lower the number, the less consistent it's going to be, and the type of damage can be different, and some people kind of value cleanliness or centering or whatever more than other areas. So little more subjective down in the especially below 8s. All right, here we go. Shiny Card says, I want a guru to pull the Charizard just to watch the chaos it would cause. I'm sure it would. The most evil man, scam baby supreme in the world. Pulling the Charizard would have set some people on fire. TJack94 says, my current one, there's absolutely no reason for Pokemon to consider reprinting evolutions. It was in print for 5 years and distributed in every product. 5 years is more than enough time for anyone that wants to get it at cost, or well below that in some cases. So yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I know with the recent influx of new collectors, everyone that missed out on evolutions is like super hard on it. I think we're seeing a lot of that with the celebration stuff as well. I'm sick and tired of the base set trio in general, and the base set reprints. I've seen them so many times at this point that just let them live their lives and give us something new and exciting. Snowbell City says, the Mario Luigi Pikachus are the most overrated cards in the entire hobby. I would definitely disagree with this. They're not really my thing. I don't know, crossover. It kind of feels like a pop vinyl kind of thing that they would do, kind of like collaboration. But I can see why people really like them. So overrated? No, probably not. I'd stop collecting if it all became worth 0. It's what makes me enjoy it. I buy cards to sell for better cards. True collector. So Parker, I would have to disagree. I mean, it would sort of take a little bit of the challenge and fun out of it, at least for me, where I'd be able to just grab everything for free. If you're saying it goes to 0, I'm sure it won't actually, it can never actually go to 0. That's an exaggeration here. But if it was so cheap that I could just go buy everything and complete my sets, I don't know. That's not really any fun either. There's a little bit of fun in finding the deals, and the challenge of you can't just go out and fill your cart and troll and toad and have your entire set. You can come pretty close, but certainly financially not viable at this point in time. Shadowless. Lower end Neo PSA 10 hollows are hilariously cheap. I can't say I've looked up any lower end Neo PSA 10 hollow recently, but I'll take your word for it. And I guess this is kind of cheap as subjective. So your definition of cheap might not be anyone else's, so I guess that could be unpopular in its own. Lisa Nagi says, aside from increasing capacity, training new graders, increasing prices is a legitimate way to tame current demand for grading services at the new price point. It just isn't really worth grading bulk promo Charizards or other low value cards that make for an easy flip. If people don't like it, then they should consider taking their business elsewhere or start their own grading company. Well, I guess the last part here, people are starting their own grading company just because they're looking to take advantage of the fact that not everyone wants to spend a lot of money on a case. I don't think you should be spending $20 on a meaningless label, but that's up to you to decide. But yeah, at one point in time, especially when the market started to blow up, you could basically send anything in and it would be free tendies. And that's not the case anymore. It's the delay and the extra cost at this point is certainly making it much more difficult to flip and dip on anything and everything that you want to send in for grading. Rip Guy Fox says, seeing the events and reactions of the past days, I have another unpopular opinion. I think we as engaged collectors tend to overanalyze and overestimate single sales of high-level items, wrongly taking as a fact that one sale is going to change the trajectory of one card population or even the entire market. Statistics start at 3. At least that's what my old teacher used to say. So I would say that that's pretty wise statement by them. And that's why anything up in this higher echelon of cards where you have very few sales, or at least public sales, takes an extra level of risk and expertise that a lot of people shouldn't be comfortable taking, because you can either overestimate or underestimate a single sale, or somebody could just really want it. 2 people really want it. They fight over it. They paid too much for it, and it retraces. So I don't know. You got to be more careful. The more rare the item is. Set cards, you can easily go look up at previous sales and get a pretty good idea, even if it's a specific grade, at least in terms of what the like PSA, BGS, CGC kind of sales, or even condition if you're looking at raw. But even then, looking at the PSA sales for the condition that's approximate to what you're looking at, it's a pretty good indicator. So the scale works really well that way, especially with the PokemonPrice.com. Sakari, the creator of the thread, link in the description, says PSA increasing prices is a good thing and completely necessary. They seem to think it's a better decision than to mass expand, and I would probably have to agree with that, because I would imagine that the market's going to cool off and they're not going to need all that extra help. At some point they're going to catch up. People are not going to be so over ambitious to grade things, and there'll be less people grading things once interest wanes. Niche says, unpopular opinion, y'all grade too many cards. Yeah, I would have to agree. But I mean, that's up to the individual. If they want to spend the money, and if it's making the money and they're flipping and dipping, then they are going to grade as many cards as they possibly can. Again, harder in this market. Professor Steven says, I'd love the Legend and Break cards so much more if they didn't look trash in a PSA case or a normal binder. So I got a solution for you. If you just turn the binder sideways and flip it up instead of sideways, you'll have yourself a perfect Legend and Break card binder. I don't really mind them being sideways in the binder. I guess as long as if you have them in there with the rest of the set, then it doesn't work. Have them on a separate page and flip the binder before you turn the page to it. Gag89, Logan Paul is in Pokemon for the money. I would probably agree. Is he in it entirely for the money? Who knows? There's got to be some sort of interest there. But is it at least partially for the money? I would have to agree. Otherwise, you wouldn't be turning it into videos and making money off of it. Prof says, Pokemon cards are cheap. I know it's easy to get caught up in the stunks and six-figure box breaks, but I consistently find myself going down eBay rabbit holes of cards for under $10 that I absolutely love. There's still so many affordable ways to enjoy the hobby. It's not even funny. I've been telling people this all the time. They're like, oh my god, I can't buy Pokemon cards. It's 2020. It's 2021. Yes, you can. You need to focus on things that are not, the new hot thing that everyone's chasing. You can easily go find some other stuff that you will probably like just as much or not more. The only problem is people might not be chasing it as well, so maybe that takes some of the fun out of it for you. But yeah, there's tons of cheap cards, tons of great artwork for cards that are 20 cents all the way, up to however much you want to pay for it. You can always either downgrade in condition, don't buy graded stuff, buy some older sets that are kind of forgotten about, that are a little bit low, under the radar at the moment. Always some awesome stuff that you can collect. Mr. Panda Chum says, I wish rainbow full art trainers were not a thing. Not only does it dilute the set, it looks like garbage compared to the regular full art. I would have to agree. Also, it is a pain for set collectors because it takes up a secret rare slot. This is the real reason. Yeah, so on top of the fact that they should have retired them when they had the alternate arts coming in, also terrible that now you have full art trainers and hyper rare rainbow rare trainers as well. So it's a mess. The sets are out of control. Dial them back. Dime says, condition on a card is way overrated. I would agree to an extent. I still don't want my cards to be like bent in half or anything like that, but I think a nice PSA 8 kind of condition is my ideal. Anything above that is great, but it's not something that I would pay a premium on. If it looks like it came out of a pack, provided it wasn't damaged, out of the pack, then I'm usually good with it. Azuria Ryu says, probably not necessarily unpopular, but BGS has the best label, CGC has the best case clarity and grading scale, and PSA has the best resale price. Combined, they'd make the best graded case. I mean, I guess. These are all subjective. I don't know if it's unpopular. I'm sure people will disagree with all three and say that all the labels suck, all the cases suck, and resale sucks because now you have to buy express grading services. Explorer, if given a bag of PSA 9s and PSA 10s with the grades covered, most people in the hobby wouldn't be able to tell them apart. I 100% agree. I had a thread on here that was kind of fun, where I would, before I cracked my cards and put them in my binder, I would take a picture of them and ask people what the grades were. And surprisingly, not very accurate. People have a very hard time and trust a little bit too much in these labels. Remember, they're just employees. They're not high-paid, super professional plus. They're just taking a look at the card, seeing what the condition is, and giving you a general idea of what that is. Overpaying for a grade when you're not looking at the card is a huge mistake. Buy the card, not the label, even if it's in a case with a label that is going to add value. Quichancy says, as we experience Pokemon's 25th anniversary, I have thought to myself, if someone asked me to pick out one of these 4 options to hold for the next 25 years, regardless of market dynamics and a changing world, with the options being PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator, PSA 10 97 Pikachu number 1 Trainer with Trophy Case, 10 PSA 10 First Edition Base Charizards, BGS 10 First Edition Base Charizard, then, if profit was the only goal, I would choose the BGS Charizard to hold and sell in 25 years. I mean, if you were Logan Paul, you could just take those 10 PSA 10 First Edition Base Charizards and turn them all into BGS 10s, right? That's how that that's how that works. Yeah, I don't know. In terms of value, I'd probably go with I don't know what I would go with. If I was keeping it, I'd probably go with the Illustrator. Just because I think it's awesome. I don't really collect Japanese cards or trophies or anything like that. But I'd probably go with the Illustrator if I was keeping it. I don't really need the first edition base Charizard. I'm happy with the one that I have. And I don't know if you can. The 97 Pikachu #1 would be cool too. I don't know. You guys let me know what you'd pick in terms of value and in terms of if you had to keep it. I think Illustrator if I had to keep it, and in terms of value, I guess maybe the PSA 10 Charizards. The 10 PSA 10 Charizards. I don't know. Smokemon says centering shouldn't be used to determine a card's grade as it is a result of manufacturing rather than condition. This is the last one for the video. I think it should be. I think anything that affects appearance should be. I'm kind of on the fence of when certain cards or certain sets get lenience because of certain defects that are typical in that set. I think that's kind of bad. But I think it was also brought up that if centering shouldn't affect it, then should print lines. And then you can get into what about roller lines, or what if it's cut poorly in any way. So I don't know. I think that's it should be the overall appearance and whatever the best version of what can come out of the facility. I think there shouldn't even be lenience in terms of set. So if you have like Jungle and Fossil that are prone to having that silvering on them, I think that should be dinged. But I mean, that's just me, and you know, I'd rather just have my raw cards, and if I'm happy with the condition and the centering, I mean, I'm obviously going to keep one that's centered better than the other or in better shape than the other. But at the same time, I don't know. Grading is grading. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See ya next time.